Hey everybody, it's Cam again with my June roundup for the month. This was quite the month for me. I have been just crazy busy when it comes to work. I think that in the end I'll end up somewhere around like 240 hours for the month. So I was in that tractor or a loader an awful lot. Then I started that SPFBO for the Before We Go blog, a spiff box, if you will. I read 20% of all 30 books. It was funny. Some of the batches felt like they took forever, and some of the batches I got like 3 or 4 in a day. When you saw those tractor reviews, you probably saw sometimes I was wearing the same shirt for several videos in a row. That meant that I did like as many as 3. I think I had one day I did 4 when I worked like 20 hours. So you saw even a nighttime video of that one. Otherwise, it was, it wasn't too bad at all making it through. Our group definitely had way more like paranormal romance and YA than I personally would have preferred. We didn't have a single grimdark, so that was a little bit took me out of what my normal comfort zone for reading is, I guess. So maybe that was a positive, because there wasn't one book that was going to have like a an inherent strength and advantage over the others just because it had the genre that I like to read. So all in all, I just felt like it was a pretty solid batch of 30. I ended up with 7 books that I personally want to finish after reading, those first 30. I'm told that, anywhere from 10 to 20% is about the typical average for most of the reviewers in our group. In the end, we're only going to have like maybe 5 or 6 total semi-finalists, and obviously just the one finalist. And then the last thing on the SPFBO is I did actually finish 2 of them so far. And then also I had read Rites of Passage by M.D. Presley, a couple months ago. So that one was done, and I did recommend it as a semi-finalist. Then I read Here There Be Monsters. It was an urban fantasy, tons of paranormal activity. I gave that one a 9 out of 10. You can see that that's on Goodreads. I will also obviously be recommending it as a semi-finalist. Then Gates of Hope, I gave an 8.5 out of 10. I believe that, I will also recommend that one for a semifinalist. It's kind of like, it's fantasy, but it definitely has a little bit of like a science fiction fantasy feel to it, where there's several different planets. I thought at first that it was like weird bird things, but turns out it was dragons that can fly between the planets. Had closed those gates a long time ago. That's where that kind of science fantasy feel goes to it. But both were good books. I'm glad that I finished reading them. I will try to read, the rest of those during the month of July. Aside from that, this was definitely a month where I read another huge batch of, this time progression fantasy, not true, RPG, so progression or cultivation fantasy. I read the first 2 of the Cradle books by Will White. I'll have a review on my initial thoughts of that, coming out. Obviously, it's one that has millions of views, just a huge series when it comes to progression fantasy and that kind of stuff, right? Then I also have now listened to the first 2 books in the Beware of Chicken, which is like a cozy progression fantasy, cultivation fantasy. Big fan of those so far. I feel like they're calming. I kept expecting something to go really, really bad. The entire first book, after reading, so many books where that's usually the norm, and when things kept going right, it's funny because I actually felt a little bit of nervous tension to start off with, and it was nice when it then got better. All in all, the biggest reason why I did those 4 was because last month Audible had a huge sale, so I was able to get some of those books for as little as $1, $2 or $3 total. And sometimes when I'm really tired and sitting in that tractor, it's hard to make myself read. So instead, I just go ahead and listen to audiobooks. A way to get a bunch of those. I actually read the Miss Percy book 2 this month as well. Same thing. I got it for $3 on sale, and that sale. I knew book 3 was coming out soon, and I decided that I wanted to give it a good shot. Really enjoyed it. I think I gave that one an 8.5 out of 10. So you guys should have been able to see that review of that just a week or so before this one came out. I also finished up the fourth and final book in the Superpowered series. Really enjoyed that series. I thought it was a lot of fun. I felt like it had like an appropriate level of escalation from their freshman year through senior year, and just kept me really entertained. Also, man, some huge books, like, almost 2,000 pages for that final one. So they were great if you were an Audible fan and you want, just a ton of time on a book. Really enjoyed them. Those will certainly be on my, end of year review of full series that I read. Really enjoyed all four of them. Cannot recommend those enough if you like superheroes. So on the same vein, I just read Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. That's another one of those that I really enjoyed a lot. Superheroes in Space is the best way to describe that book. You have a sentient space station. Most of the big ships in the universe are sentient. It helps stop like other superpowered people from being able to like basically impose their will and just crush a ship or something like that, right? I ended up giving that book a 9.5 out of 10. It's just barely going to miss that book of the year list for me. I mentioned to the author that I apologize that if it was last year, that book would have been on my list, but this year, since I've read so many darn good books, I had that run of Robin Hobb's books at the beginning of the year, and then going on to loving the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio. I've gone through a whole bunch of books where, I'm like somewhere like 15 or 16 on my book of the year list right now, and I think that Wistful Ascending would be somewhere around like, the bottom of that, somewhere in that 15 range. I'm going to end up with like 120 books read this year, so being in the 15th place or somewhere in that range is pretty darn good still, right? But I feel like that's kind of getting a little bit close to the edge of where, my book of the year list should be. I'm certainly not going to go over 20, right? Last year I only had 8 on that book of the year list, and I think that Wistful Ascending would have been on, that top 10 last year. But when we're talking somewhere still in the top 10% of my favorite books I read for the year, but, we're getting a little bit far down the list at that point. But definitely think that it is certainly worth reading. If you like superheroes in space, it's well written and a lot of fun, and it has a really good main character named Rohan, who has superpowers. Those superpowers are best activated by being angry. Cause you to basically go into like a berserker rage, and he's someone that didn't want to keep killing people, so he thought he was going to, basically his version of retiring to the farm was to go and be on this space station, and in the end he unfortunately had adventure come to him. Obviously, wouldn't have been for a great story if there wasn't the adventure coming. But all in all, I just had a really great month of reading. It's funny because I think I only finished 6 books, but when you read 20% of 30 books, obviously I spent a lot of time reading this month. Moving forward, I don't like to put out a specific TBR episode for the next month. So moving into July, what I will probably be doing is finishing up those other 4 books for SPFBO. I want to read the Riven Earth sequel. I want to get to that pretty quick. Also, I really need to get to the main God Eater book by Rob Hayes. That one's coming out here pretty quick, and I better get a review of that one out before they release. Hopefully one of these days, pretty soon, I end up getting my hardcover copies because they looked beautiful. And then also, as I mentioned, I'm going to do those 4 other books for SPFBO, and then I'm going to try to just catch up on a few other books. I have had some people asking me to do some of their arcs, and I just have been too busy. The Miss Percy, the 3rd Miss Percy book is going to come out. I wanted to make sure I get to that one, somewhere close here. And all in all, I think that we're just going to have another good month. Obviously, as busy as I'm going to be again this month, I'll have plenty of time, for reading and audiobooks. If you are an author who has an audiobook that you would like to send me a code for, that's probably going to be a good way to get yourself have your book read quicker than it might otherwise, and have a good chance of making it on the having a YouTube episode put out. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Anyways, all in all, just I'm excited with where my reading year has gone. It feels like sometimes like all I do is work, sit in a tractor, and that's going to be the case again for another couple months. Super busy, but I'm enjoying my reading. My reading is definitely what's keeping me sane while sitting in a tractor for that long. I do plan actually on getting to the newest Hardcore History by Dan Carlin. It is a podcast that I've loved for years and years now, and I certainly will continue to listen to those. And probably next week, actually, I might do that now that I think about it. And then I am going to take a couple days and go up and see my parents. I might try and record an episode while I'm up there. It's just beautiful. They retired this year, and they live in a little mountain town now, built themselves a house up in the mountains, and I'll try to get a video maybe recorded while I'm up there from their deck. It's beautiful. Last time I was up there was a herd of elk that was literally 50 feet away from us down in their draw, and we got to, us and the kids just had a great time, with that. So we'll keep on moving on. I'll do my absolute best to keep getting episodes out, and I'll, really try hard. This one should be coming out at the very end of June. I'm not going to get another episode out for Friday. What will be that, July 5th or something like that, because I'll be out of town, and I just don't feel like putting together another one. I'll try to have one recorded and edited so that I can put that out for that next week. All right. I hope you guys are all enjoying these videos as they're outside now, and we'll keep carrying on. Thanks. Bye.